Yay. The Tashara Parker Show. The internet's favorite cousin. A different perspective on news, culture, and hot topics. The Tashara Parker Show.
Cousin, a different perspective on news, culture, and hot topics. The Tashara Parker Show.
Y'all, oh my goodness. I see y'all already hyped this morning. Y'all already in the comments, y'all already talking. I know we got a lot to talk about. And if you're like me, obviously we got off here really, really late last night, much later than any of us anticipated or expected. And honestly, with everything that went down yesterday, I don't think any of us knew what was on deck. Okay. So good morning. As we always say, make sure you like the page, make sure you subscribe, all the things, especially if you are over on YouTube. I see your comments. Aisha, one of our members, saying, I am hot. Good morning, everybody. DFW in the building. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, let me know where you are watching from. Obviously, y'all were just as excited to get on here and have this conversation as I have been. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. We got several guests that are joining us this morning, and we'll get to them in just a bit. But I want to know how you're feeling this morning. Let me know how you are feeling. What time did you go to bed last night? Did you stay up late? Listening to some of the speeches, the remarks, etc. Let me know. Oh, Alfonso, I don't want to hear that part now. Good morning. Thank you so much for weighing in. Thank you for your comments. If you have not already hit that thumbs up button, go and hit the thumbs up button. Let me know where you're watching from. I want to know your sentiments after last night, this morning, and just really overall how you're feeling. Okay, so again, good morning, folks. Exhausted. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of folks are exhausted, and I feel like we'll talk about a little bit about that here this morning. As we know, Texas politics had a big night. State Representative James Talarico wins the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate, beating Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in a race that we all know got a little spicy. We heard about confusion at the polling places in Dallas County. Some voters had trouble figuring out where to go. A few folks even had to try more than once before being able to cast a ballot. We'll talk about that as well. And if you've ever tried to vote after work in Dallas traffic, which I know a lot of people did on election day, you know it is not a small inconvenience. So this morning, as mentioned, we've got a great lineup joining us to break all of this down, even some parts that I didn't get a chance to discuss yesterday with you all as we were on our show for about 3 hours or so. I want to bring in Elaine Campbell, who is a member of the show. We talk to her fairly often. Elaine with the League of Women Voters, who works to make sure elections are fair and voters know their rights. Cardall Coleman, chairman of the Dallas County Democratic Party, who's helping lead the party locally as Democrats look toward November. And Angel Carroll, Democratic political strategist and consultant with ACCG, who spends a lot of time thinking about campaigns, messaging, and how elections are actually won. So good morning to all of you. Thank you for being here. Elaine, I want to start with you. We heard about the confusion at polling places in Dallas County. Some voters were told they were in the wrong location. What stood out to you most about what voters experienced yesterday?
So, because as you know, I'm also an election judge, so I was on the ground at the polls. I think let me tell you what stood out to me. And this is, even though I am going to talk about, like we did yesterday, I'm going to talk about what's going on with the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The League is nonpartisan, and we want everyone to have fair access to vote, as does the Democratic Party, by the way. Anyway, so what stood out to me yesterday most was that even though many people were told, when we were told by many of our voters that this was the third location that they were told to come to. Apparently, they received a tweet from I don't know where that came from, that ended up being the wrong location for some people. And then when they got to that location, they were told by an election clerk, not by a navigator, by an election clerk in front of the e-poll book. Apparently, that was not synced somehow, and they were provided a location that was not correct. But then, when they got to that location, a navigator was able to tell them the correct location. So, from my understanding, as long as people spoke to what were called the navigators, the people who were not election clerks, not judges, but actually had the navigator GPS hardware, apparently that had the correct location. That is
Yeah,
what I'm being
Elaine, but
told.
even as you and I talked yesterday during the show, with the navigators, with the information that they had, with the, I'm gonna just say iPads or systems or tablets or
Yeah.
whatever that they had, some of that information wasn't up to date. Did you receive something differently as far as information?
I did not receive that the information. I did not receive information that the navigator system was not up to date. I received information that when people were using other avenues, including trying to go directly to the Dallas County election site that was down at one point, that they were not able to get the information. But there were a lack of navigators because we had a huge number of voters. Yay, awesome! But sometimes there were maybe only 2 navigators, right?
Right.
So there were people who were didn't have time to get to the navigators, so they were going to the wrong place. But from the information I received, and again, didn't talk to everybody, so maybe some things happened differently. If people were able to actually get to a navigator, then they were able to get something right, but it took a little while. Now, one thing that I noted though, when we had Republicans, I was in the only Democrat site.
Correct.
So if I had a Republican come to my site and they were told this is where I was told to vote, they were not nice and very rude and very frustrated. And I actually did explain to them, you need to talk to your chair because he voted for this. We did not. So please talk to him about that.
Cardall, I know you want to come off mute real quick. Cardall, let me bring him in, okay? As a chair of the Dallas County Democratic Party, I know you want to jump in on this piece, and I really want to get what's the latest on all the one judge said we're going to extend it for 2 hours, then the Supreme Court comes back and says, no, we're not going to be able to do that. What is the latest on that part? And then I want you to address what Elaine just mentioned from a standpoint of they need to talk to the Republican Party chair about all this confusion with the polling places.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And the latest on that is that we're consulting with our counsel, our lawyers, this morning. We've been doing so since last night to see what are our legal options at this point, right? What avenues can we take? I did see Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is going to try to pursue a lawsuit as well. So we're going to be standing arm in arm with our Congresswoman if in fact she decides to do that. So we're head down focused to make sure that every vote that happened after 7 p.m., which were provisional votes, which are legally permissible, should be counted. And so that's our position, that everyone who was in line after 7 p.m. under this order signed by Judge Williams will be allowed to count. So that's our position on that. And Elaine's exactly right. This has been a conversation that's kind of been brewing in the background for the past 5 months. We've been in tough negotiations with the Republican Party, asking them to have a joint primary election, do the best thing by voters, and make it easy and accessible, remove the red tape and all the confusion. They refused to do that. It's been a crazy game of cat and mouse. We thought that they would agree and comply. And then on the last minute on New Year's Eve, while everybody was out on holiday, they pulled a fast one on us and went in a different direction. And so that's the result of what you've seen here. And so we've been kind of trying to let everyone know, ring the alarm, if you will, about what would happen and the chaos that could ensue on election day. And so that's exactly what came to bear yesterday.
Cardall, when you hear folks voters say they had to go to multiple places before they could vote, what is your reaction to something like that?
That's voter suppression at its finest. That is the intention of what the GOP wanted to do. When Elaine talks about the chairman, so each political party, you had two separate primaries going on. But in order to have a joint primary, both have to agree to do that. They didn't agree to do that, which disenfranchised Democratic voters and Republican voters. So there were multiple folks who got sent away or showed up at the wrong location and didn't understand exactly where they needed to be. Beyond that, you had systems on the back end, whether that was the county the county elections department's website that crashed. You had the Secretary of State's website that had misinformation on it. And so people didn't really have a source of truth. And so they were kind of winging it as needing to know where to go and running into great election judges like Elaine, who could reroute them to the correct place.
Yeah, and that's why we consistently try to enforce and try to tell people to get out there and vote early, because we always know in the great state of Texas, because we still a great state, we gonna have issues on election day. Angel, from a strategist perspective, things like voter confusion can also affect turnout, especially leading to November. How big of a deal is that when campaigns are trying to energize voters and keep them engaged at this point?
I mean, it impacts it greatly. This was a test run by Republicans, right? I truly believe that. And this truly doesn't just hurt Democrats, it hurts Republicans as well when we see this. And so we've got to figure out how we convince people that they can trust the process when we're literally seeing voter suppression in our face. There was a voter extension, not just in Dallas County, but in Williamson, Houston, as well as El Paso, because of not just the misinformation and confusion around these precinct voters, but the machines were going down. I believe in El Paso, there was one area where only 2 machines were actually working. Again, this is not this is on purpose. This is not by accident. I'm sure I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we are the great state of Texas. We have how much money invested into this? This was done purposefully. And so I think what we need to see boots on the ground, as well as our county parties, our precinct chairs, our Democratic clubs, telling folks ahead in advance to say, this is what to expect. Here, go to your precinct to vote. One of the things we saw in Williamson County, which is right outside of Austin, is that no one knew where to find where their precinct was. So you had all the the voting locations, then you had go here, you're in this precinct, but no one knows what precinct that they live in. And that link on the election site was so hard to find. And so we have to figure out how we're going to educate folks on where they need to go, but also be responsible when we're communicating this information, right? To me, there's no reason why we had news outlets and folks calling the election, particularly the Senate race, when Dallas had not had their numbers.
Yes, I saw that. Talk about it.
It's just irresponsible. And quite frankly, I found it offensive and disgusting that we were celebrating voter suppression as Democrats. Like, that's how I took it in. I left the studio at around 10, 11 at night. There were still people in line in Harris County.
And that post had went up before then. I'm almost positive, or right around that time, because I was still up. I didn't go to bed till about 11, and it went up before I went to bed for sure.
Yeah. I mean, people were still voting. Our, election folks here in Harris County, she said we still have 700 people in line. That was at 9, 10 at night. We have to be really thoughtful about how we're communicating this, because guess what? When I look at who was disenfranchised, they look like us.
Yeah.
They look like us. And so what does that tell voters in November as well?
Elaine, I want to go back to you for a moment, because beyond this election, voter confidence is a big issue nationally. Angel touched on that, quite a bit. Do moments like this risk discouraging people from voting?
It does, and I think that's disheartening. I'm hoping that it actually encourages people to vote more and to go to more candidate forums and to speak out, to understand who's in charge of managing your voter process. In Dallas County, the commissioners are the ones who have to vote for the process, for early voting and for the general election. For election day, as Cardall was mentioned, the parties own that. But so understand who is controlling what. Ask the right questions. We have commissioners who are on the ballot. Ask them what is your opinion about the voting process, so that we know. There's some crazy things going on in Collin County because I have 2 sisters who live in Collin County, because the commissioners did make some changes. So we have so many counties in Texas. I love hearing about all the ways the different counties are doing things. At the same time, we have one Texas Secretary of State. So why are things so different? Why are things so ridiculous for every county? So we need to get more involved, not less involved. And I hope people understand that. We cannot allow only a few people to make decisions. We have to have more people involved in making decisions. So unfortunately, things like last night, I've already seen people getting frustrated and saying, "Well, I'm out. Well, what's the point?"
Mm,
We have to fight harder, not not even though we had as we talked about, I think it was yesterday morning, my days running together, we had a huge boom in voting. Yay! But you know what? It still wasn't even over 30% of our
correct.
people who are registered in Texas. So we still need more. We still need more, not less. And I hope people realize that.
And I feel like a lot of that is going to come from some grassroots efforts. And I know a lot has been done even leading up to this point, but there's so much more that absolutely needs to be done. Cardall, I want to talk about the race itself, the biggest race anyway. James Talarico wins the Democratic primary. What message do you think that sends from Democratic voters, I should say, that we're sending with that result?
Well, I mean, from the statewide perspective, I think it sends a message that his message does resonate, right? He was able to go far and wide and talk to folks all around the state of Texas, and he's been able to do that for months. He was, got in the race very early, and so he's really hit the ground running. Also, before Congresswoman Crockett got in the race, he was considered the favorite. So
Right.
I think that his message resonates. He's had a chance to travel the state and really talk to a lot of people. I think it also sends a message that, for the folks who were not supportive of him, that, there's still a lot of grassroots organizing to do, right? Whether your candidate won last night or not, we have one objective that's going to November, and that's to win.
Yep.
Overall. And so this is going to take everybody. I know this is the cousin show. So in Dallas, we're going to have a family meeting to discuss and really unpack everything that happened last night, not just last night, but everything that happened from mid-decade redistricting. You were there covering that up until last night. And so our family meeting is our county convention. The Democrats have a county convention every 2 years, biannually. That's going to be on March 21st at IBOC, Inspiring Body of Christ Church. And we're having a family meeting to really unpack what happened last night, and then how do we move this thing forward as a whole and as a community. So we'd love for all of you all to be there.
I appreciate you mentioning that. And speaking of family meeting, Angel, I know you kind of wanted to jump through I was about to say the TV screen, but through the screen on that one. But I do want to talk about what type of family meeting needs to be had, Angel, with the Democratic Party overall, not just about what happened last night, but also about maybe it's, different types of racism. I'm trying to phrase this in the right way, but I think you get where I'm coming from. What kind of conversation needs to be had surrounding that? And Cardall, you can feel free to jump in as well following Angel.
Yeah, I think there's a couple conversations. I think the first conversation that we're seeing across the state and the nation, and even set the Senate, I'm not even talking about the Senate with this, is we have to talk about the battle of the generations, right? We need to build a bench, and we have some of our elders that quite frankly refuse to pass the torch or even build that bench. And then you have folks that are wanting to hop in and say, like, I want to get in, and people are told to wait their turn. And look, we are fighting fascism in the face right now. People don't feel like they have time to wait 20 or some odd years. So I think we need to have a conversation as a whole, but then I think within the Black and Brown community, we need to have our own conversation about within generational politics and building the bench, and not just electeds, but also operatives as well. Because when you have candidates of color running and they don't know when to apply for endorsements, who they should be calling, we're not gonna win races. So we have to build up operatives as well, the people behind the scenes. I think there's also a conversation around electability. What does that mean? A lot of Black women specifically, but Black folks feel as the Democratic Party continues to spit in our face when you're told that Jasmine Crockett could not win this election because she was a Black woman and she was quote unquote loud. And so even this morning when I'm online and I'm seeing things about like identity politics is dead, woke politics is dead, what do you mean? And so we have to have a real conversation, but we also have to figure out how we're going to bring young and old and middle-aged and millennial Black folks into the Democratic Party who, quite frankly, typically identify as independents. How do we bring them in to be a part of this process? Because we can sit here and complain. Trust me, I have complaints within my own party. But if you're not at the table, if you refuse to come to the room, you're never going to see that change, because it can't just be me, Cardall, and some other organizers and activists and elected saying, listen to us. This is what we need to, this is what we want.
I do want to make mention of real quick, because you mentioned on bringing in kind of that fresh, those fresh faces, and we've talked to a couple of them on the show as well. So I want to get your comments on two races that kind of surprised some folks. One of them is Rep. Chris Turner, and a Democrat from Grand Prairie, narrowly lost the re-election to Junior Izanu, the mayor pro tem in Grand Prairie. And he's a young progressive candidate who advocates for increasing minimum wage and against the school voucher program. Again, we've had him on the show. And then over in the Dallas County District Attorney race, it looks like District Attorney John Crusoe is on track. Now, this has not been made final, but is on track to lose his reelection to former Judge Amber Givens. Both of them are younger candidates trying to get into those particular offices. So I want to get your feedback on that too, because that's something that we talked about before the show started.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not in Dallas, so I don't have my eyes on everything out there, but those were two races that were really interesting to watch. Chris Turner is an incumbent, right? You had a city councilman come in, and from what I had heard, just within my little circles, right, was like, you know, we don't know if he's really going to make it, but like, good for him. He's got a chance in the future. Look at him now. I think this is also why working with candidates up and down the ballot is impactful. What we saw across the state is Jasmine Crockett campaigned with multiple down ballot candidates, and those candidates won their elections. And I think that's what we saw with Junior. Dexter McCoy, he was a favorite in Fort Bend for their county judge race. But going to rallies and being, you know, seen with Jasmine helped him. And I think it just is a further case study of what it looks like when we actually support and work with each other. Amber Givens, Judge Givens, I apologize. Again, people thought that she wasn't going to win. I supported her with her case against the Supreme Court. I think it's just, again, another case study that people are paying attention. We can say that voters don't want someone that may or may not be quote unquote establishment, but at the ballot box, voters speak differently, and they have.
Yeah. And I'm pulling up this tweet from Jasmine. Oh, are we saying it's X now? Whatever, child. We don't even barely use them anymore. But I'm pulling up this post from Rep. Jasmine Crockett, because someone in the comments, and I don't know if you're being a troll or what, but they were saying, I hope that Jasmine gets behind Talarico. And I feel like she's already tried to unite. And I can't even imagine, you know, how she's feeling even in this moment, because we're all still human. Let's not forget that. Okay. But she did make this post early this morning, obviously reminding folks that they're trying to win this thing in November. So just keep that in mind. Cardall, we know the primaries can get heated. Now that this one is basically over, how important is it for Democrats to bring everyone together and quickly, which I feel like Jasmine did even with this post?
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And we still have, you know, it's not completely over. We still have a couple of races that have gone into a runoff. And so some of those which are key, right, are New Texas 33, which is in the runoff with Julie Johnson and Colin Allred. So there's still some big races that are out there that we have to unify around once those are done. But, you know, I'm serious when I talk about having a family meeting, right? And that's all of us, not just those of us who view ourselves from within the party, but the allied organizations, the people who don't necessarily have a political home, but you agree and align with us on our value system, right? That's the kind of conversations and intentional work that has to be done quickly, right? Over the next couple of weeks, 2 months before we even get into the summer, because by the time the summer gets here, we have to really deploy our organizing strategy, do teach-ins, really, you know, this primary, we saw voter education really be forefront, right? Yeah. It was a lot of miseducation, misinformation. And so the more that we can arm our people with the tools and the information that they need, I think the more successful that we can be going towards November. But as you talk about, you know, generationalism and where we go from here, look, I think it's no accident that we had record turnout here in Dallas County from the DA's race to to the top of the ticket. You know, our candidates range from 44 years old to 36 years old, people who can communicate in a new way on several different platforms and mediums. And I think that's what really kind of expanded the electorate for us. And so when you look at our returns, you have people who are under 50 years old voting at 39%, higher than any other age group. Right? We look at people of color outvoting here in Dallas County. And so when you talk about what does politics in Texas look like, it looks like folks who are younger, folks who are of color, and you have to make space and room for us at the table.
Elaine, I want to ask you this. When you were at the polls yesterday and you saw a lot of that confusion taking place, you know, with folks showing up, et cetera, I guess I want to know, going into November, you know, what are you seeing, or what needs to be kind of the mode of how we push folks to continue to trust in this system that many of them obviously had more distrust for after what went down yesterday?
I think it is very important for people to be educated about even more so. We did try to do, the league and other groups did try to do a lot to educate people and prepare people for the election. I'm hoping that this is going to make people actually pay more attention, because even though we did try very much to educate people and warn them about what was happening, there were people who just went to where they voted every year for the past 3 years. So I am hoping that this is going to allow people to pay more attention. I'm glad that the Democratic Party is going to have a family meeting, as Cardall mentioned, to look at anytime you do anything, you should always have an after, look at things, understand what could be done better, what went well, what did not go well, and have honest conversations. I encourage Cardall and the group, do not ignore conversations about racism. That has been done very much in the Democratic Party, saying that that's divisive. If we don't have the conversations, that's divisive. So we have to have honest conversations about racism. We have to have honest conversations about historically and even currently the party not supporting Black women, not standing up for Black women specifically, and the Black women are the backbone of the party. Having honest honest conversations are critical. So I hope that happens. So I think that is what people are looking for, is not to be left out in the conversations, not to be told, well, you can't say that because that's divisive. Using those words. Using words like identity politics are out. That's going to hurt everyone, and it's not going to help. So I'm looking forward to the outcome of that, and I encourage everyone to, of course, I'm going to plug the league. We're going to have many candidate forums between now and the election. Please join them. Ask hard questions. Ask hard questions of the candidates. Get to know them. We will help you find their office, make appointments with them. If you don't want to go to candidate forums, meet them yourselves, set up coffee with them. This is something that I tell many people, and I didn't realize until years ago when I started doing this. When people are running for office, they rarely say no to coming to an event.
Yes.
So ask them to come to your church. Ask them to come to your Girl Scout meeting. Ask them to come, seriously, ask them to come see you. So.
Yeah, good stuff, Elaine. Cardall, I know you're on a time crunch, so if you have any final words that you want to share with folks, just on behalf of, the party and moving forward and what that looks like, and again, just really a recap of where we stand with everything that came down from the judges last night.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your platform. You've been with this conversation every step of the way before it was even a popular conversation, right? Talking about what does it mean to have a non-joint primary, even back to last summer on a mid-decade redistricting. This is just the second phase or wave of the effects of mid-decade redistricting. So thank you for using your platform. For everyone who's watching, from everyone who is in Dallas County or across the state of Texas, thank you for giving us record turnout. That means that you thought it was important enough to show up. And so for those who showed up and you were not allowed to vote, I want to see you. I want to have a direct conversation with you as well. I like to have a conversation with all of you to know exactly your testimony, what happened, what was your experience, because we want to keep you in the fold as well. And then we talk about this family meeting. That's just not, again, for folks who are insiders or for folks who want to come and have a conversation. Maybe use something about this election cycle inspired something in you and say, hey, I want to get organized. I want to add my talents and my gifts to the conversation as well. There's space for you at the table, and we're willing and ready to work with all of you. So this is just the next step that we're going to be taking as far as organizing towards November, and our legal battle is not quite over. We're going to be fundraising and make sure that we have enough resources to be able to do what we need to do in November. Thank you all for having me.
So legal battle's still going. Thank you so much, Cardall Coleman, for joining us, and thank you for your work as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Angel, I want to bring you back into this conversation. Any last words from a strategy standpoint? We still got November to go. And actually, before you speak, I do want to bring in the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, Kendall Scudder. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
Okay, Angel, real quick, just from a strategy standpoint, how do we move forward at this point?
Look, we know who our nominees are for the most part. We still have some runoffs.
Sure.
We have our marching orders. We, as Elaine said, we need to have real conversations with each other, not just, within the Black community, but with our allies as well. But we have to look and remember the mission. We need to flip Texas blue. And so we need to figure out what we need to do to get there. We need to be open for conversations. But as a Black woman, I'm going to say this: stop asking Black women to save you as well if you're not willing to do the work. So a lot of tough conversations. Primaries are hard. It's competitive. We have our marching orders again. We got to move forward.
Okay. Angel Carroll, thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Kendall, I didn't mean to take you off, Kendall. Kendall, I do want to bring you into this conversation. You just heard what Angel mentioned there. And as we all know, winning a primary and winning a statewide race in Texas are two very different things. So what does the road to November actually look like when it comes to winning for Texas Democrats?
Well, they are two different things, but I do think that it is really important to point out that this is the first election in over 20 years where the Democrats outvoted the Republicans in the primary. What that means is that there's a lot of momentum on our side and there's not a lot of momentum on their side. Can you blame us? I mean, like, our candidates were great and worth voting for. Theirs, not so much. And so I think while they are different elections, it is a testament to what we're staring down the barrel of. And that's huge opportunity. But it's only opportunity if we are able to make it happen. It's not just going to get handed to us. So what I think the strategy is number one, the first, foremost, most important thing in any election is uniting our base and making sure that we're ready to move forward. I think that the party has a really bad track record of negotiating away our base and treating the people who have always been our backbones as if they are negligible. And that is not an option because if you look at the numbers in the last election in 24, there were 1.1 million Democrats who voted in 2020 and stayed home in 24 that said that we were not worth showing up and voting for. And that's no one's fault but our own. So the conversation over the next month, in my opinion, needs to be about how do we get the team back together? What can we do to make sure that all of our nominees are worthy of our base casting a ballot for them? That's number one. Number two is going to be a long discussion about improving our data systems throughout the state, making sure we have a high quality coordinated campaign that is actually coordinating and is not just people from one room shouting orders down, but actually listening to people on the ground, telling us what's important to their communities, and operating like we're on a team instead of fiefdoms, instead of silos where everybody's fighting about who's in charge and who gets credit. It really doesn't matter who gets credit if we end up losing a bunch of elections. So, very different than the way we've operated in the past, but I do think that it's time for us to stop operating like we're an amateur hour. If Texas wants to be a swing state, if Texas wants to be a swing state, you got to start acting like it. And that is the structure that we're trying to put together to be able to win. We anticipate reaching out to every voter in Texas 4 to 5 times to improve our data, to improve the work that we're doing. But we can only do it if people are volunteering and bought into the effort. So that's why it always starts with making sure our base is united and ready to go.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Kendall. Elaine, I want to bring you back in because one thing I never want to do is just be doom and gloom. It was a lot that happened last night. You know, a lot of people are coming to grips with the outcome of some of the races from yesterday. So I do want to ask you from a standpoint, kind of piggybacking off of what Kendall mentioned, bringing the party together. What does that look like, and how can people get involved with the work that you're doing so that people can show up and actually have some confidence in the systems that we have in place?
I would encourage people to. One thing I do want to say: the people were, and I was there until I was at my polling location until almost 11 p.m. because we had to, close out and everything. The people who were voting again, I was a Democratic location, and they were and going 2 or 3 places. The Democrats, for the most part, were having fun with each other. Were saying, "I'm going to vote no matter what. I don't care. They can send me to 4 places." I had the same attitude. I was like, "I'll stay here to midnight if we have to. I don't care. We're all going to vote. We're in this together." I told you I was helping people hold their babies, helping people with their dogs. So we were enjoying it. We were going to do it, and I 100% believe that attitude of we've got to do this came from messages that were being sent by some of the top candidates, like Jasmine, we've got to do this. We're together in this. We're going to do this. So I do want to say that for the most part, people were in there fighting. I would love for more people to get involved with the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is for men and women. We in your community, because I know you broadcast to all of Texas. We have a League of Women Texas. We have a League of Women Houston. We have a League of Women Austin. They're all over the place, and we are directly involved with all of the candidates. We are directly involved with the municipal election that's about to come up. That is very important. So I also encourage people, please, please, please. We're there. We're voting. Pay attention to your local elections. They're very important. The people who are running for commissioner, the people who are running for those types of offices that will make decisions on how your election is run. That's coming up. Well, commissioner is not a municipal. So, but some of the
and those are the ones that a lot of people don't pay attention to, Elaine. To your point.
Correct.
And all those races matter for sure.
Yes, there is always another election in Texas. There's always another election. Please pay attention to all of them. We will help you do that, and we would love more people to be engaged with the League of Women. We will help you. We will help you no matter where you are. Not just get registered, but get educated, meet candidates, and understand what is happening. Understand what the process is. So I just really encourage more and more people. Obviously, I think it's fun. I enjoy politics. A lot of people always all my life have told me I don't like politics. I love politics.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love being involved in it. I love meeting people. I love understanding what processes are and understanding exactly how this person can directly make my life and my family's life better, and being honest with them. And I also encourage everyone, just because you like a candidate doesn't mean you can't have honest conversations and hold that person accountable. Please do that. That doesn't mean you're not going to vote for them. Doesn't mean you don't like them. It means you want them to get better. I mean, you want them to be able to reach more people. So please don't shy away from having real conversations with all candidates.
I appreciate that, Elaine. Thank you so much for your time and for always making time for us here at the Tashara Parker Show channel.
I love your
always
channel,
appreciate
by
your
the way.
wisdom.
Thank you. I love your channel, by the way. Thank you for having this. I tell everyone about it. What you're doing is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Have a good rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Okay, Kendall, now that the U.S. Senate race overall is over for now, how important is it for the Democratic Party? Again, we've mentioned this throughout our show. Several people have weighed in on it throughout the show this morning, but I really want to talk about how important it is for the Democratic Party to bring everyone together quickly heading into the general election. And Jay Swarobo, I want to go ahead and bring you into this conversation too, especially from a community standpoint. You were at one of those watch parties yesterday. And I want to talk to you about kind of the sentiment on the ground at the watch party. But Kendall, first, how important is it to bring the Democratic Party together quickly?
I mean, it's crucial. I mean, there is no opportunity and no path for Democrats to win in Texas unless our base is united and out in full force. That's just the reality of it. You can go and try to persuade every Republican on the planet to be a Democrat all day long, but if our base isn't coming around, we're not going to have a very good time. And so it to me is the probably most crucial piece is like what happens in the next month or two and how Talarico manages to juggle this. Our coordinated campaign has over 160 candidates and partners from all across the state. And we have to be working in lockstep with each other. But, what the Democratic Party is, it's a coalition party. If you aren't familiar with governments around the world, that's a common type of party that you have. It's one that has a lot of different kinds of people with a lot of different kinds of interests, all under a same shared umbrella. And we are the only coalition party in the United States. And what that means is that you can sit at this table, but you have to respect everybody at this table. And as long as everybody at the table is treating each other with respect, we're going to be able to get to November together. And so to me, that involves a lot of listening, a lot of hard conversations, and some give and take in order for us to get where we need to go. But ultimately, if we fail to do it, there's huge consequences for the world.
Can I ask you this, Kendall? What has to happen, though, for Democrats to win in November? Like, what has to happen? Because now it's a reality check. It's been 30 years statewide. We know since we've had a Dem win. So I need to understand, like, what needs to happen and for folks to understand that are watching, because I'm seeing some of the comments. I'm ignoring some of the comments, but I am seeing them. And some of the comments, folks are saying, well, basically to hell with it in November, that they're not going to vote, that they're not going to support the candidates that have been chosen. So I need to ask you, what needs to happen right now for Democrats to win in November?
Well, in order for Democrats to be able to win in November, we have to have a two-pronged strategy. Number one, it is engaging and turning out our base. And number two, it is finding new voters who have felt shut out of the process and welcoming them into the system. I don't personally believe that the path to win is to go find a bunch of Republicans and convince them to be Democrats. It's not going to happen. I think that the way you do it is by turning out our base and finding people in the state who felt shut down, shut out, excluded from the process, and welcoming and inviting them in. I know there's a lot of hurt feelings today. Regardless of what happened in this election, no matter who won, there were going to be hurt feelings. That's what happens in primaries. I would remind people, though, of the last really contested primary we had in Texas, which was in 1990. It was where Treasurer Ann Richards ran against Attorney General Jim Maddox and Governor Mark White. They were all in a primary together, literally going around the state calling each other cokeheads and fraudsters. I mean, it was vitriolic.
It was cutting up.
And what ended up having to happen was everybody coming together, and we ended up winning in November because we spent our primary engaging with people who have been shut out of a process for years. If you don't have a primary, then nobody's engaging with the Democrats. And so it's an important part of the victory process, but only if we're going to be able to recover from it. And, you have to be willing to put the good of the country and what's happening over what our own personal items are. I have times where I'm on the progressive wing of the party, and there are times where people win that I am not particularly happy that they're the nominee. But, I look at the system and I look at who the other side is, and I know that everything that they're going to deliver to this country is everything I am diametrically opposed to. And so I get out of bed every day and know that I have to fight to get the most progressive option elected that I can.
Yeah, thank you for that. Jason Robo, I want to bring you into the conversation, really to kind of humanize what we are hearing from a standpoint of, I know you were at a watch party yesterday. Your fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, hosted that over in parts of Tarrant County. So can you tell us, what was the sentiment from folks who were on the ground? You were watching with us all evening. What were you hearing from them?
I believe there was a mixed sentiment. There was disappointment, yet there was still a level of hope that, hey, all the votes haven't been counted yet. There's still time. There was also some bright spots. There were some smaller races where candidates that we were supporting did win, such as the state representative race between Chris Turner and Junior Izano. Such as the county judge race with Allison Simmons. But there was a sense of disappointment knowing that Congresswoman Crockett was eventually going to lose because of the fact that she just had a hill that was insurmountable for her to climb. And so the issue is where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Because right now, it's the time for people to just to sit in their feelings. This is not the time to talk about uniting behind a candidate. You know, this is, I woke up this morning and I thought about how I felt when Kamala Harris lost, when Hillary Clinton lost. And it was that same feeling that for whatever reason, we can't get behind a woman and elect them into an executive position. And for me, personally, knowing Jasmine, you know, it hurts that much more because of the fact that you know who she is, you know what she stands for, you know the good she can bring to this country in the Senate, and she lost. Now, there's some self-reflection that we have to look at as well, because when we look at the fact that 2 million plus voters voted, that's great. However, that's a small fraction of the registered voters in the state of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have to, it seems as if we continue to be taught the same lesson over and over again, that the only way change is going to happen is if the overwhelming majority of us vote. That's the only way it's going to happen. And right now, for whatever reason, in the state of Texas, that's just not happening.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, you know, voting blue in the fall, I think that the Democratic Party really does have to do some reflection on how it has treated the base. And when I say the base, I'm talking about the demographic that votes close to 90% in every election for Democratic candidates. And that's African American citizens. There are approximately 4.5 million eligible voters who are African American in the state of Texas. And I don't see much of an outreach towards their 4.5 million. We're tired of well, you just vote blue, we get in, and then we'll work on your issues. That's just not working anymore.
I do want to bring you in, Chairman Scudder, especially hearing what Jason Robo just mentioned about getting to the bases, right? So what is the party going to do right now to expand turnout? Yes, but also to make sure that they're not neglecting a group of people who has consistently showed up without a doubt to support the Democratic Party?
I will answer that question. Let me piggyback a little bit on something that Mr. Robo said. And I want to make a point. One thing you will never hear come out of my mouth or the Texas Democratic Party while I am leading it is that somebody needs to just fall in line and they need to suddenly jump in line behind them. It is James Talarico's responsibility to earn your vote. It is not your obligation to fall in line. But I would hope that people would give him an opportunity to do that, right? That's a part of being on a team, is that we've got to figure out how to work together. But he has an obligation to come and earn people's support back. And we're going to work with him to do that. I think that he is absolutely the best option for us in this election. But it is by no means anyone's responsibility to simply fall in line. You need to have your vote earned. And for years, we have treated our base and we have treated people within our coalition as if they have some obligation to us. And I don't think that that's helpful to the conversation. But what I will say to answer your question is, what are we doing to reach out in those areas? Well, in the past, what the party has done is they have said, we are going to focus on these people in the center and try to make sure that we are convincing them, persuading them, trying to get them to turn out to vote. What we're doing differently this year is that our coordinated campaign is focusing on our base and our people. The people who show up for us time and time again to make sure that they know that they are respected and appreciated by our party. So what it means is that whether that is young people, LGBT people, women, Black people, Hispanic people, regardless of what demographic they fall into, they may have traditionally been carved out of some of our outreach because we have taken them for granted. And this year's coordinated campaign does not do that. It treats every voter as if they are a vote for us to earn. So that is number one, I think. Changing the way that we are targeting in our outreach changes the way that we treat a lot of those communities. But number two, having the large investments that we're having coming into the state, a $30 million coordinated campaign for Get Out the Vote efforts, what it does is it starts to free up our local candidates' opportunity to invest in programs where they can get intertwined within communities that they're fighting to represent. So if you're running for state house, or if you're running for state board of education, or if you're running for county commissioner, you're not having to spend all of your money now just simply on this GOTV effort, but you can now spend it on actually building relationships within communities to try to strengthen those bonds. That's what the goal in the initiative here is. It's a big state. I'm going to make some mistakes. I've never run a coordinated before. I got elected last year, but I think we all just have to have patience with each other while we're coming around to this. This all just happened yesterday, right? It's a lot to digest. The key word, I think, to move us forward here is respect. We treat each other with respect. We treat our voters with respect. We treat the electorate with respect, and trust that they're all doing what they feel is in the best interest of their communities and of this state. And when we do that, when we treat each other with that respect, it's going to build those bonds that we need to be able to rely on each other. The way the parties operate in the past, telling people to shut up and get in line, that's not how you build that respect. That's not how you build those bonds.
Okay, Kendall Scudder, Jay Swaroba, I'm going to let both of you go. Any last words from you, Kendall?
You know, what I would just say for folks is buckle up. We've got a real bumpy ride between now and November. The whole country is counting on us to meet this moment as Texans. And I think that we're ready to meet that moment. But it's going to take all of us working together to get it done.
Kendall Scudder, thank you so much for joining us on the Tashara Parker Show.
Thank you.
Jay Swaroba, any last words here for our audience?
Just for everyone, you know, this was a pretty intense election cycle, and now is the time to just take a moment to just sit in your feelings, take a moment to breathe, take a moment to rest. You don't have to make any decisions right now, and you know, we just have to regroup and figure out how to navigate this November election.
Okay.
Things have to change. We don't have much time left on the clock as far as the way the state is going, this country is going. And so it's time for us to commit to being the change that we need in our communities and in this state.
Okay. Jay Swaroba, thank you so much for joining us here on the Tashara Parker Show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, what a great conversation. I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with all of you, and the folks in the comments. The engagement has been incredible. I appreciate all of you for joining in. I knew today was going to be crazy. I knew it was going to be lively, and I knew a lot of folks had a lot to get off their chest. So thank you all for just being a part of this conversation and a part of this community. And thank you for supporting independent journalism, independent media. It is a lot of work oftentimes to get the show on air. And so if you want to become a member of the Tashara Parker Show channel, you can certainly do so by joining our community over on YouTube and just click the join button. It should be fairly simple for you to do that. Our memberships are very, very much affordable. Less than a cup of coffee for, you know, a couple of them. So please feel free to join the Tashara Parker Show channel. If you have not hit that, what I want you to do with the thumbs up button is just to keep hitting it. Like, just keep hitting that thumbs up button. It's 700 of you where I'm watching at. Okay. So go and keep hitting it. Okay. Whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, y'all going so fast. I can't keep up. Kevin just became a member of the Tashara Parker Show channel. We love our new members around here. Thank you, Kevin. Believing in the work, believing in the mission. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Continue to weigh in. You can continue to leave comments, all that good stuff. But I know that there's a lot happening across the state of Texas. There's a lot that we're going to continue to talk about as far as this conversation. And my goal, again, this is not a politics show or political show, but sometimes we need to politic a little bit, okay, and have these conversations. And it is what it is. And I hope that you'll just continue to follow us on this journey. For those of you who are new around these parts, again, my name is Tashara Parker. I'm a journalist based in Texas. We talk about news, culture, politics, always comes into the fold because it impacts our lives on a daily basis. So we certainly have those conversations as you just witnessed here this morning. Oh, I think we got another member. Again, hit that join button. Good. Okay, thank you, dread-headed Texan. Always here for the home love, okay? And so we're going to continue to have those conversations, folks, especially as we lead into November. We're going to be having the candidates on again because I think it's important that they understand how to gain your vote. And don't assume that you're going to vote for them, and don't assume that you're going to show up at the ballot box, because I know a lot of folks who went in and we tell them to vote down ballot. But if one of the candidates in a certain race just didn't stand out to them, I didn't see people skip. Okay. Or I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but they have certainly mentioned that to me. So I encourage you to just be aware, make sure that you are doing your research. And if you have any feedback for the Tashara Parker Show, you can always email us, media@tasharaparker.com, especially if there are certain individuals that you want to have on the show and that you want us to talk to here on the Tashara Parker Show. But again, I'm based in Texas. I've done a lot of work on the local level from a standpoint of Dallas. And if you are unfamiliar with my work, I'm at Tashara Parker on most of social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And again, I would just love for you to support the work that we're doing here at the Tashara Parker Show channel. And for those of you in the comments saying that you're going to skip voting in November, that just really, I don't like that. Make sure you vote, okay? We're going to figure this out. We're not even 24 hours past everything that went down yesterday. So I know we need time. As you heard Cardall Coleman mention, who is the head of the Dallas, chairman of the Dallas County Democrats, he mentioned that it is going to continue to play out in court. So we'll be watching for that as it relates to the voter issues that were experienced in Dallas County. But as of right now, Jasmine Crockett conceded early this morning. Oh, I don't see that image in here anymore. But Jasmine Crockett conceded early this morning. I do want to play Talarico's remarks from last night as well.
Y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for staying up. Thank you. Tonight, our campaign is shocking the nation. We are still waiting for an official call, but we are confident in this movement we've built together. Every vote must be counted. Every voice must be heard. The voter suppression in my home county and in Congresswoman Crockett's home county underscores the gravity of this moment. This movement is about whether the people will hold the power in this state and in this country. We launched this underdog campaign 6 months ago in my hometown of Round Rock, Texas. And since then, tens of thousands of Texans have shown up to rally with us in every corner of the state, from Beaumont to El Paso, from Amarillo to Brownsville, and everywhere in between. We have recruited more than 28,000 volunteers who are organizing in every community across this state. And we have shattered grassroots fundraising records, all without taking a dime from corporate PACs. This is a people-powered movement to take on this broken, corrupt political system. This is truly a campaign of, by, and for the people. We are not just trying to win an election. We are trying to fundamentally change our politics. And it's working. The number of young people who showed up to vote in this election is unprecedented. The number of Texans who have never voted before but showed up in this election is unprecedented. The number of independents and Republicans who voted in this Democratic primary is unprecedented. This is proof that there is something happening in Texas. Tonight, the people of our state gave this country a little bit of hope. And a little bit of hope is a dangerous thing. I want to thank y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in this fight. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That was James Talarico speaking last night. And again, we saw Congresswoman Rep. Crockett mentioning that she called James Talarico this morning and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. She also mentions Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part and will continue working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. There you go. There you go. All right. Okay. That's all the time we have. We're about a few minutes over. I thank y'all for joining in and for such a lively conversation. Today has been, I know for some of you a bittersweet day. And, everyone is trying to come to grips with the numbers from last night. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, there are a lot of folks that are excited that their candidate did win. There are a lot of other races that maybe we should be paying attention to as well. What does it say? Oh, yeah. You're talking about the content creator on TikTok. I know who you're talking about. But yes, what was I saying? I forgot. Child, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Anyways, that's the beauty of doing this at home because I ain't got no script. I'm over here talking. I do have a teleprompter, but I'm not reading it because I didn't already went through all those questions. But again, appreciate you guys joining in and for the lively conversation. I know a lot of us didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And I know, again, there are a lot of feelings on both sides of this. And I think everyone today has some very, very valid points about having a real conversation, a family meeting, so to speak, with the Democratic Party and understanding why oftentimes, certain candidates get that boost and certain candidates do not. So I think that's a conversation that certainly needs to be had. And let's not get it twisted. While I have not talked to Congresswoman Crockett's team today, because I know, again, everybody's been really just busy and tired and trying to figure things out, etc. Or I haven't talked to Talarico's team either today. But this isn't the last that you've heard from her. Let's be very clear, okay? So we'll wait and see. She's already said that she's ready to, lace up the boots and get ready for November. But I know, just like Kamala came back swinging, I don't feel like this is the last. So we'll see. Okay. Maxie, who purchased 10 memberships yesterday for folks to become a member of the Tashara Parker Show channel. We always appreciate him. He's reminding you once again, subscribe to the show. You can subscribe for free. In addition to subscribing, you can become a member and join the Tashara Parker Show channel. Dorothy Reed is congratulating Pastor Haynes. Boy, I wish we could have had some of the candidates on this morning. It would have been nice to hear from them. But obviously, we know, let them celebrate their wins. We'll try to get them on. Okay. But yes, subscribe to the show, like the page, keep hitting that thumbs up button. Literally, if you can hit that thumbs up button like multiple times, like keep hitting that thumbs up button. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Have a great rest of your evening. Oh, it ain't even, it's morning. Child. When I tell y'all, because I was so like hyped yesterday and had all kind of coffee and Red Bull and all the things, I was asleep, but not really. After I finally, got to bed last night. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'll be back fresher than ever tomorrow. Oh, hold on. Let me show y'all this. Now, y'all remember, well, I don't need to show y'all, but so y'all remember, I have been talking about the Texas Hub program. That is the historically underutilized businesses program. today on our show, we were actually supposed to interview one of the plaintiffs in that case because several businesses came together and they're suing the state of Texas. Well, some high profile folks in the state of Texas. And one of the people that they're suing is the state comptroller. The state comptroller currently, who is in the position, who was put in that position by Governor Abbott, the state comptroller, Kelly Hancock, is one of the people that are being sued. And it's because he overhauled the Texas Hub program back in December, which basically meant that more than 15,000 businesses who were on this hub list for the historically underutilized business program were notified like within like a day's notice. There was no preparation, no none of that, like within a day's notice that they were no longer on this list of businesses who were able to compete for state contracts, government contracts, in their businesses, right? So like 15,000 Texas minority-owned businesses, female-owned businesses were told they were no longer on this list after he gutted it. In fact, the way that he gutted it, he made it to where only veterans, service-disabled veterans were able to be on the list and receive the benefits of those government contracts for being a historically underutilized business in the state of Texas. Long story short, because I'm talking out the side of my neck, I don't have any notes. This is all off the top of the dome and what I remember about the situation. But Governor Abbott spent, I believe, $1 million or somewhere close to it. He spent a lot of money, is what I'm saying, on the campaign to get Kelly Hancock re-elected or elected into this position for Texas Comptroller. Even after Kelly Hancock did what he did back in December with that hub program, and now he being sued. Why he lost last night? Kelly Hancock lost. He did lose last night. Now, who he lost to, that's another story. But he lost. Y'all got to do right by people now. So, yeah, that's that. I wanted to update y'all on that. Hopefully we will be able to talk to them at some point. But I told them this morning we couldn't do the interview because we had a lot of breaking news. And there's no way, even considering what time it is now, that I would have been able to have a thorough conversation with them about why they are suing the state comptroller. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I just wanted to update y'all on that. Did y'all know that already, or was that tea? Was that breaking news for y'all? Now I'm getting delirious. I gotta go work out, so I can work out some of this caffeine. But then I'm gonna take my makeup off, which maybe I should make more videos before I take my makeup off. We'll see. Thank you, Maxie. Thank you, all of our members of the Tashara Parker Show channel, for being a member of the show, for supporting independent journalism, for supporting independent media. I know that there are a lot of means and people that you can get your news and information from. So thank you for being a part of this show, being a part of this community. If you have not subscribed already, subscribing is free. I encourage you to do that. I appreciate you for doing that. We were only at 16,000, 17,000, somewhere around there a couple of weeks ago. And now the page continues to grow. And again, I'm just thankful for it. It was a lot of work to get this thing started and a lot of procrastination because in my mind, I always want things to be perfect. And when you're doing something from the ground up, it can't be perfect. You lean on people who have done it before. You look at the blueprint. You ask them how you can launch and get started. And you hope others will support you. And because of the work that I've done here in Texas, specifically here in Dallas, a lot of people have leaned in to support the mission. So again, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Or I might just give myself a day off because, you know, I can do that. No, I'm not going to do it. I'll be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And thank you to our lone person who watches over on Twitch. We are live on Twitch. That's going to be a whole new community that we're going to have to build. It's going to take some time because we're still trying to work on YouTube. But thank you to Sela for watching over on Twitch day in and day out. Appreciate that support big time. Have a good day, y'all. Hey, cousins, thank you so much for watching. Your support is how we keep going. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. I know you hear me say it all the time, but all of that impacts the algorithm and folks finding out about the Tashara Parker Show. We want to make sure you never miss a show as well. We are live every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and sometimes some special episodes. If you support the work that we're doing here, please consider becoming a member of the Tashara Parker Show. You can do all of this by visiting our YouTube page. Thanks so much for supporting the work that we're doing here. We could not do any of this without all of you. Thank you.